While we're waiting to get started here, just want to say thank you again, David, for being with us. Thank you, everyone who is joining online and around the world. This is the Impact Series. I am Jessica Lauretti, the Managing Director of the Anthem Awards. The Anthem Awards is brought to you by the Webby Awards. It's a new award platform that's dedicated to honoring purpose and mission-driven work from brands, organizations, and individuals around the world. We've just completed our inaugural season. We're starting to gear up for season 2, which will be launching in the middle of June. And we, every week, we host these live chats and bring on different people from across the social impact community to talk about what they're working on and what's working on the ground, and just share important information and amazing projects and with our global community. So we'll get started in another minute. Again, just want to say for everyone who's joining, please encourage you to comment, like. We can see all your posts down there. I see a lot of hearts going off. So thank you all for being with us today. So let's get started. I want to introduce my guest today, David Friedrichs, the CEO and co-founder of Cerqular. Thank you so much for being with us. Tell us where you are in the world.
I'm in the future. Thank you very much for having me. I'm in Australia at the moment. I'm at the very bottom of Australia. Normally you will find us in Los Angeles. Cerqular is an LA-based company, but we're in Australia sorting out visas, so we'll be back soon. But it's Friday
morning. Are you originally from Australia?
Originally, yeah. I mean, I've been everywhere, but you can probably hear that we're adopted Americans, so we still have the Aussie accent.
I could tell with the accent that you might be. So, okay, awesome. Well, thanks. Let's get started. So, tell us all about your story. What is your background? Like, tell us how you got here. How did you come up with the idea for Cerqular? What is Cerqular? What was your insight that led to starting this company?
Life experiences. I mean, our journey didn't start off on a mission to, find a business solution to the climate change problem. It started off just pursuing personal interests, and alongside studying, my wife and I, co-founder, co-CEO, we dived 21 years into brands. So we've been over the last 21 years brand creators, brand owners, always within the natural wellness, health space. And over the course of 20 years, we've just come to learn so much about the evolution of consumption. And through our businesses, our careers, our personal life developments, we came to learn that every impact that we do as a business owner, as well as a consumer, plays a huge role. And we forget that, the small things that we do, the small decisions that we make at checkout, eventually add up to huge impacts. And so, we spent the last 7-8 years living in Hong Kong, and before that also in China, and incredible region. And it's probably one of the closest regions to my heart. But we saw firsthand the effects of Western consumerism, in particular on people and communities, animals and wildlife, the oceans. And the click moment was, let's do whatever we can, from a shopper's perspective, to become sustainable. And that meant locally, it meant buying product made not only using sustainable ingredients or materials or fibers, but also in an ethical way that wasn't harmful to the people or to its communities. And if anyone's tried this before, it's impossible. There isn't that quick and easy solution like Amazon where you can just go onto your phone and get all your shopping done in a matter of minutes. And so we gave up, and we felt so bad about it. And so over the course of time, we realized that we're not alone. The majority of my generation, and in particular the younger generation, really want and demand something better, a lot better. And the problem is that we just haven't seen an evolutionary progression in the shopping model. Amazon did a great job, but everything is pretty much around the same model. So we're all offering the same products, and they're only competing on price. And so we sold our brands and we dived into Cerqular. So Cerqular is a spin on the circular economy. Our entire mission is to make buying and selling sustainable, purpose-driven products, primarily innovative products. Just as simple as it is to access conventional all in one place. And so we connected the dots from being now the largest marketplace platform globally, as well as connecting the dots from a plastic-free, sustainable fulfillment perspective. And we also help brands, carry on their journey or dive into becoming more sustainable through end-of-life solutions as well. So, I think it's a turnkey solution that, because we just got it as a brand owner as well as a consumer, Cerqular is the solution that we personally have been wanting. And now we know that, millions more have been wanting it. So Cerqular is shopping 2.0 essentially. And it's our mission to, redirect supply chains from conventional to sustainable in a radical way and as quickly as possible.
What is your background? You said you worked in brands, but kind of how did you get into this?
Oh, it's completely different. I mean, I was studying law and commerce, so I did a double bachelor's degree. So did my wife. Really wasn't into studying. I did graduate, but it wasn't my thing. I've always been a people person. So, halfway through law school, I thought, I really want to try and earn an additional income. And this was when I was, in my super early 20s. And so in addition to, jobs, studying full time, I thought, why not launch a brand? And so we found a private label manufacturer, created our own first brand, and started selling in the Middle East, actually. We pinpointed a market where there just weren't supplements. And over the course of this journey, we realized that it's not only difficult to build a sustainable business, you're actually discouraged to do so. Manufacturers along the journey were constantly saying, why would you want to go into sustainability? Why would you want to do this? The cost factors, all of these things. And as soon as I'm told no, I pursue it further because clearly there is something to this. And so over the course of those years, we just became more sustainable. So, yeah. And over the course of years, we've had careers and brands. And so it's just been an evolutionary cycle from Australia to Asia to Europe to the US. And so we've just come to learn that, the world is such a beautiful place, but is in dire need for help.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about, you started to touch on it, about how discouraged you were from making sustainable products. Why are the creation of sustainable products so important? And also creating this platform where there's this one-stop shop for all of these sustainable products in one place. Why is that so important, to individual consumers and individual purchasing decisions, but also the economy or the environment at large?
Yeah. So we were discouraged because it's human nature to find a quick win in everything we're doing. So whether you're a manufacturer or a consumer, we always look for a quick solution. And for a manufacturer, sourcing, it's becoming far easier now. But over the course of the last 10 years, finding sustainable packaging, finding, sustainable production methods and fibers and, vegan capsules, plant-based foods,
right,
it just wasn't accessible. And so as soon as you gave a task to a manufacturer to go diving, it was their time. And so they just discouraged it. Then even if you overcame that hurdle, then you had to overcome the hurdle of where do you sell your products? Everyone needs a platform beyond just your own website. And if you sell on the likes of conventional platforms, even in, the likes of, major pharmacy or drugstore chains, ultimately they're going to be discouraging you because they're prioritizing the lowest price over and above quality, wellness, sustainability. And so you're knocked down at every turn. And so Cerqular is this, moving on to your next question, Cerqular is so much needed because ultimately we are the platform that not only encourages it, we prioritize it. And there are millions and millions of brands that are verified as sustainable, right through from B Corps to having sustainable ingredients, ethical business practices. And there are tens of millions more that just either don't have the capital to become verified. And now these companies have a platform not only where they sit comfortably with less friction to no friction, but they shine because we're also attracting the audience base where previously they had to spend hours and hours spending time online, going in store, going through shelves, trying to read labels. Is it really sustainable? Am I paying an extra 10, 15%? So Cerqular cuts through all of this, and it makes accessing it really quick and simple. Every single brand product is verified by us, so we check it all. The brands have a really easy time doing this. There's no fees attached, there are no barriers, and consumers go there knowing that we've done the work for them. And so we're now seeing a huge shift from conventional platforms to Cerqular, which is rewarding because we're now seeing that ultimately more shipping is becoming sustainable, more manufacturing is becoming sustainable. So it trickles down through the economy. And what this means is that more and more people can now go into, circular studies, sustainability studies at college and find careers that are meaningful as well as rewarding in the sustainable area. But ultimately the decision comes down to you, down to your family, your friends, and everyone in your community to find places like Cerqular and just make the simple switch. They don't need to, say they're becoming vegan. They don't need to say that they're going to start going out buying Teslas. Ultimately, every single decision that we make, and it's a progression, we all are at a different phase on the sustainability timeline. We're all at different phases. It's like a health or weight loss journey. Everyone's on a different journey, but ultimately it's now available. And, ultimately we're going to be changing, how economies function. And we still have a lot of barriers because I think a lot more can be done. But the better we, the easier we make it for businesses and consumers, the bigger the impact.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit, you started to talk about the verification process. So how do you determine that a product is sustainable before it is available on the Cerqular marketplace?
It's a really tough question. Anyone who says that it's an easy question is completely lying. But when we started, we went out and said we're going to be where we are today, but where we want to be in 10 years. And we realized that was a huge mistake. And like any businesses, it's a learning process. We wanted every brand to be this. So we quickly pivoted to realize that the number one goal is trust. So every single brand on the platform is a verified business. We don't accept currently peer-to-peer because it's very difficult to track and trace where the products have come from and also whether they have the legal right to sell a product. So it's only for brands that are a verified business. Step two is that we also dive into making sure that the claims a business is making about the products stand up. And so if a company is saying B Corp, we cross-check it. If someone's claiming certain organic ingredients or recycled materials, we cross-check it. And they don't need to be independently verified. We will work with the brands to check with their manufacturers and going right through their supply chains. Because what we do not want to be is a bottleneck. We will not be that person that says, no, you don't meet the standards. Rather, let's work together to find what you have so that you can shine and actually, change the course of your business, your supply chains, your manufacturing, and right through to the communities where you source your products, because it's a huge impact. And then we dive into other factors like what we call happiness factors, so happy tags. And so everything from, is it a female founder? Is it a brand that's gender neutral? Cerqular is the first platform that covers all of these topics. So if you go to Cerqular today, you will actually see a dedicated category for gender neutral. It's one of our busiest and thriving categories, right from children to adults. Because what we want to do is also avoid the problem of serving consumers what we think we want to clear. Rather, we want you guys to find what you want based on your individuality, your style, your preferences. And so we connect it the other way around rather than just feeding you the lowest price.
Right. I mean, as a platform, try to stay somewhat like product agnostic, except for the sustainability.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you both are very involved in that process and, talking to folks directly and like checking in on their supply chains and stuff. Do you have an entire team who does that? You guys just do it?
No, well, when we started, it was just two of us. Now
Yeah.
we're 17, soon to be 33. By the end of the year, we'll probably be close to
Congratulations.
60. So
Yeah.
it's been, we're growing at about 100 to 140% month over month.
Wow.
So it's really fast. I mean, we are the largest globally. We're close to 100,000 products on the platform, hundreds of
Wow.
brands, and soon to be by the end of this year, closer to a few million SKUs and close to 1,000 brands. So
Wow.
but there's a lot to look forward to. So it's a rapidly scaling enterprise, which it presents its own difficulties because everyone needs to be trained and trickle down the organization. But the thing that doesn't surprise me are the people who we're finding are so happy to leave where they're currently at to join an organization that fits what they've been wanting to do for so long, both in their personal world and in a career environment. And this is our entire, thought process with Cerqular. As soon as you reduce friction, whether it's from an economic perspective, from a business creation perspective, and from a consumption perspective, things just work out.
Talk to us about how do you feel the focus on sustainability has changed in recent years? Do you feel like, you started Cerqular right before the pandemic in 2019. Has there been a shift in consumer desire for these products during COVID?
There has definitely been a shift. We didn't launch Cerqular because of COVID, or it just happened to be that we sold our last brand in August of 2019. But and I'm so glad the timing worked out because we've actually helped a lot of people find solutions during lockdowns. We've helped brands recoup lost revenue on platforms where they just weren't able to compete. And so we've actually helped businesses find additional sources of revenue, which they now rely on for their business. Businesses have grown on Cerqular.
Right,
and so the transition
through a shift to sustainability.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, wow.
And so now that we've existed at the time when they needed us most, I mean, how many businesses in everyone's local area have closed down their physical stores? Right. It's heart-wrenching. It gives me actually goosebumps because ultimately this affects people, their families, communities, and it just trickles down the environment in such a big way. And we came in purely out of chance and said, look, come on board. There are no costs in joining. So you're only going to win. And they did. We're so grateful for every single brand that joined us from day one. We have 100% retention success rate with brands that have joined us, 100%. But the transition during COVID it's been unprecedented because consumers have been told that we need to shop locally because at some point in time, we just couldn't get stock in from overseas. Cargo ships were delayed because of, personal movements, with people relocating. Things were shut down. And so we actually connected brands from a macro national level right down to a very micro level, helping brands sell to their local areas and helping, connect the dots from an inventory management perspective with some of our awesome, cool partners in fulfillment and shipping. So what we saw is that people were obviously spending more time online. And what we're now seeing is that 51% of total retail sales globally are now online, and about 43% are on marketplace platforms. The biggest statistic is that 43% of active shoppers on the most well-known conventional platform feel super guilty every time they get a delivery truck around their door. Not because they're anti that company, but more so they know the impact they're having and they know how they're looking in their neighborhood. So we've just provided a guilt-free solution, same pricing, same convenience, tons of accessibility. And so I don't think this change that has now occurred is going back. It's happening more because we've realized that we can be more efficient with our time rather than, going to a Westfield, going to a supermarket. I can do it online on Cerqular. And we're just improving our functionality, our brand offering to ultimately make the shift, from 43% to 80%, and ultimately everything will be sustainable.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about like what are your growth plans? I mean, it sounds like you've like added many people to your team, which sounds like an amazing opportunity for a lot of folks to be working on something so excited. But what other things are you guys working on?
Everything and anything. I mean, it's just, if I could have my dream wish, I would love to have um, the ability to grow so much and just, speed things up, because we really don't have that much time to really make the shift. We are definitely running out of time, and still, the conventional platforms are producing that much plastic waste to wrap Earth 605 times per year.
Right.
So we want to reduce that down over the next 2 to 5 years, ultimately in 10 years, so that there is no plastic waste being emitted from platforms, because we don't need to. There are alternatives. But our number one mission for this year is our brand growth, customer growth, and then connecting the dots so that come later this year, early next year, you'll be able to have everything at your fingertips on subscription, getting so much more value from brands, so that the more sticky it is, ultimately you're just going to say, I don't really need to have this other app on my phone anymore. I'm just going to change and buy compostable saran wrap. I'm going to buy compostable washing powder. I'm going to buy, organic materials that are made locally, just, 2 miles down the road. And so we're just improving everything so that it just becomes literally that easy to forget about everything that once was. Because we're starting a whole new era in the world. So I think it's now time.
I was just thinking as you were saying that, do you think the biggest barrier here from the consumer perspective is like that some of these products don't exist, or just finding them? Or is it price point, ease of use, or maybe it's a little bit of all of those things?
It's all of it. It really comes down to accessibility, though. I'll give you some stats. So there are about 6.5 million verified sustainable brands, which is enormous.
Okay. Right.
There are millions,
that sounds like a lot.
More. Yeah. Brands as well. So then you've got to, work out the number of products. So it's enormous. The problem is, how do you know who they are? Everyone knows the big brands like the Patagonias, the Allbirds, All Days, and all these incredible brands. But who has the time to shop from each one individually? That's the problem. So we've aggregated them all, and we're not an affiliate site. We actually do the full 9 yards, like Amazon, like Etsy, like all the conventionals, except we've improved on what we've learned over the last 25 years when they were created. So access is the biggest hurdle that we need to solve, because consumers are great. Consumers are good. There is always good in people. And if you give them the option that is just as readily available and at a price point that they can afford, they will make that choice. And we're seeing it, because people actually do want to make that shift. And by 2025, the biggest driving force with millennials, they will be occupying 75% of the workforce. So I think any business that hasn't adopted a sustainable plan, at least, I think they will go out of business easily within the next 5 to 10 years. And shoppers, ultimately, it just will be uncool to not be sustainable. And I think that transition will just dictate where we are over the next 5 to 10 years as well. The other thing is information. There is just so much talk about sustainability that is confusing people. Some people are saying that we've got 50 years. Some people are saying we've got 100 years. Some people are saying we've got 10 years. Some people are saying, prices are too expensive, can't find them, they're not as good, they don't taste as good. The fact is, there is so much innovation from Beyond Meat and from plant-based foods that taste is really no longer such a big factor. More so, there are more and more car brand alternatives to Tesla that are coming out. So it's not just Tesla anymore, which is great, because competition is good. Tesla's a great car company, by the way, but competition is just as valuable because it means more and more investment and prices go down. But what we're also seeing is that prices are now no longer so prohibitive. There was this time about 5 years ago that sustainably made products would be 25% more expensive.
Right.
Not anymore. In fact, on Cerqular, you can find sustainably made, super cool apparel at either the same price or a lower price, and with more value. You know, carbon neutral shipping, door to door, guilt-free experiences, all the same things, but you're just getting it with a tickle of happiness. So it is now coming to light. And because of every single brand, consumer, and Cerqular, we're just expediting the production innovation process. I mean, some of our brands are producing products from cactus, which is an incredible material because it requires very little to no water. It's boosting economies primarily in Mexico, which is great for the local communities. It's so durable, probably more durable than standard leather. Plus, it feels so soft like leather. And so it can be produced into wallets, into shoes and belts. Some of our other brands are producing, you know, rings and jewelry from, you know, taking, you know, pollution out of the air and producing beautiful, you know, lab-made diamonds that have no impact. In fact, they're regenerative. So the alternatives are now available. It's just making that simple switch. That's all it takes.
You talked a little bit earlier about how you and your wife and business partner have traveled and lived all around the world. Can you talk about how this has shaped your worldview and your passion for sustainability?
I think it shaped us a lot. So I was born in Australia. I was raised in Germany. So I went to school in Europe because of my parents, you know, their careers. So I was moved around a lot, changed schools a lot. If anyone says changing schools isn't good, it's great because it, you know, shakes things up in a kid's life and it becomes, you know, life isn't just, you know, a straight line. Came back, moved to China directly out of college. This was back in 2006 when China wasn't as developed as it is today. Awesome experience, beautiful people. Moved to Hong Kong, and my careers there spread me from the very northern part of China right down to India and everywhere in between. And when someone has the ability and the luxury, which I had working for some, you know, super cool companies, seeing just in taxis and airports and going to shopping malls how trash was being transported, going to some of the most beautiful beaches in Thailand and seeing tremendous amounts of plastic waste, you know, coming up, and doing cleanup days in Hong Kong at my local area, at the local beach, you would realize that the pollution isn't actually being created by these people. In fact, these communities live organically, very natural and very plastic-free lives. The trash is coming from mostly Western countries. And so it was disheartening because some people, they're working in factories that never get to see their families. So they're producing organic cottons, but in conditions where it just really isn't ethical. And so we had to make a change. It was just, we were compelled. We wouldn't have been able to rest without finding that solution. And so we always have loved the US for so many reasons, because we've always done our production in the US. We've always sold in the US. We love Americans because out of every place where we've been to, they are the only people who, it's the only country that actually says, yes, we'll give it a shot. Yes, we're willing to try. Yes, we are willing to invest in you. Yes, we believe in it. And because of this, Cerqular will always have its spacing in the US and in Los Angeles in particular, because it's such a place that thrives on change, on improving. And so if you don't have the ability to travel, that's okay. You know, just learn, familiarize yourself with different cultures, people in your local area. It's just as beautiful. And you'll soon realize that the single thing we have in common is that we all want a great life. We all want a long life. We all want a healthy life. No one wants to see poverty. No one wants to see trash building up. That's a common thing, whether you have the ability to travel or whether you are just at home. And together we can actually make this change within a few years. And so the travel has definitely helped tremendously, because I now know that people are, you know, incredibly good, and everyone is willing to help out in some shape or form. And so because of this mindset, we now have a presence in 21, soon to be 22 countries. We're going to be actually growing a regional office in Asia as well, because we're now growing our basing and seller base over there, as well as our fulfillment capabilities. Ultimately, we want to get product to and from Asia Pacific to the US as sustainably as possible, but to also help brands connect the dots. We don't want the world to be living in an isolation world which no one wins in. We want this to become a universal change, and that's when we'll see bright things happening.
Amazing. Tell everyone out there how they can find out more information and buy all of their products on Cerqular.
Well, check out Cerqular. It's a great site. It's constantly improving. We've got a long way to go, but every bit of feedback helps. So check us out there. We're on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. You can, hunt me down on LinkedIn, and I will always say hi and connect. If you're a brand, we'd love to learn more about your business and hopefully help you on your sustainability journey and help you thrive. And if you're a consumer that wants a simple switch and you don't find the product on Cerqular, let us know and we will do everything we can to get it on there, because there is no second planet. We need to fix this one. And there are products for everything you're looking for. So just let us know and we will listen to everything and we'll take action. So get in touch.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's so wonderful to meet you. And thank you so much for all the work that you do.
Thank you. I mean, it's because of you that we have a voice to do this type of stuff. So your audience base, everyone who's, tuned in to join and listen to, my story, some of which may be boring, but, even if it's boring, it's because of you here. It takes the time to share these stories. And Cerqular is one entity with the impact of many. So we all have incredible stories to share. So a huge thanks to you for creating this. Huge.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.